Everyone for coming. This has been a really exciting journey for myself, and I know I have some new people on this call, so I want to. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the hair. I want to introduce myself. So I'm Mish. I am a practicing psychic medium and a spiritual life coach. And last year was a journey where I started actually tapping into really showing up for other people that wanted to work more on their journey through spiritual work. So I created Uncovering Spiritual Gifts, which is a community that is thriving and growing. And now I feel really called to step into the space of creating programs that are not just about spiritual gifts, but the steps that take you to just your own awakening. For some people like myself, psychic abilities, intuitive abilities were my calling, but for some people, it's not the calling. And it's actually just about wanting to awaken to your own purpose and whatever that may lead to. And the start of that journey comes with understanding ourselves better. And that is not always the easiest journey either. So it takes having to go through the darkest parts of ourselves sometimes to be able to see the light, because right, that's what we're here for. And so I have started this 3-day series, which is the inner child healing, which is helping those that are wanting to tap into that inner child and let them share the wisdom that we want and adore. So today is going to be the start of that journey, which is going to be the acceptance and forgiveness of the inner child healing. Tomorrow at the same time, we're connecting again to talk about healthy relationships and boundaries that are created with inner child healing. And on Thursday at the same time is talking about more of that empowerment that's going to come from the inner child healing and the compassion that comes with that, because all of us have a version of ourselves that wants to be let out, whether it is the 2-year-old, the 10-year-old, the 16-year-old. We all come with this really beautiful story, and just being able to take that journey with you. And so there's gonna be a lot to be covered today. So grab your notes, grab your pencils, grab your paper, whatever you feel. If you're listening in, this will also be a recorded session. So if you want to come back to it and think about it more deeply, please feel free to do that as well. So this is where the journey is going to begin, right? Is just understanding where to find this inner child. And I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. So like I said, I'm a psychic medium. I didn't know that that was the case. I just knew as a little child, I had a lot of feelings that came up where I would always say that, there was someone in my closet. I would always say things to my parents like, my porcelain dolls were speaking to me. There would be a lot of things that now that I look on as an adult, that those moments weren't nurtured, and that's not a problem. It's just understanding that that inner child is still living within me that wants to express themselves in this way, express myself in that way. And so being able to go back to the beginning. Now, the difference with what we're going to be doing with this healing process is this is different than therapy. So I will say that I do have a degree in psychology. However, I don't have an advanced degree to be able to offer therapy in this type of setting. And therapy starts from way back when. Therapy starts from where you are coming from and brings it to the present day to make it relatable, right? And we will have some themes where we will go back and maybe bring up some memories if we feel comfortable. But what we're going to be doing is really taking where we are today, the parts of ourselves that live within us, that 5-year-old that knew there was someone in the closet, the 5-year-old that maybe didn't feel like that they were heard, and still living within you and moving forward to tell a different story. So that's the difference. Therapy is focusing on the past. Coaching and providing this type of healing is staying with the present and moving forward. And so we're going to take those moments. So I'm just curious for yourself. The inner child is always within you. So I just want you to just take one moment. Close down your eyes. This is not a full meditation, although I know for those that know me, I do love some meditation. I just want you to just close down your eyes for just a moment. And I want you to imagine inside of your body, right? As if you're one of those Russian dolls, right? Those Russian dolls where you open it up and there's a smaller version of you. And you open it up again, and there's another smaller version, and keep going until the teeniest, tiniest Russian doll inside of you exists. So you have layers within you. So we're going to start by focusing inward on that Russian doll. So focus first on grounding yourself, focusing inwards, feeling all those layers of you, the layers of memories, the layers of lessons, the layers of relationships that have come and gone. And you keep going inwards, each doll going closer to the core. And at the very center is one singular wooden doll. And what we're going to do through this process is pay attention to that one doll today. It looks exactly like all the other layers, but this one does not open further. This is who we are paying attention to and healing. You are grounded, you are centered in this one singular doll within you. All right, you can open your eyes back up, but hold on to that imaginary doll. Okay. And in that process, writing it down on a piece of paper, if you will, what would your inner child introduce themselves as? Whoever that little doll is, it's your doll. That is your inner child. How would they introduce themselves? What would they say? What kind of things would they share with you? Maybe things they like to do. I like soccer. I enjoy dancing. I love playing with dolls. I love race cars. They might even brag about how many Barbies they have or their favorite board game that they just won. This is the innocence. This is the beauty of inner child work, is you still feel those ways now. Maybe you enjoy different activities and maybe you don't have Barbie dolls anymore, but there's an innocence about you. There's a core belief about you. And maybe that inner child, that small doll, can't express things like, I'm a sensitive being, or I'm a very extroverted introvert, right? Those are the adults coming in. Those are the outer shells coming. But what we're going to do is we're going to combine those two and give them light. Because maybe your inner child, right? As an observing from the adult, you might say that inner child is sensitive. But the adult version might say, well, I'm too sensitive because, I'm so emotional. But that inner child is still sensitive. The adult version feels like they need to rationalize. So what is it, maybe taking a moment to yourself, what are the parts of yourself, that outer adult, that you feel like you're constantly needing to fix, right? I don't work enough. I don't put enough demand in. I'm too sensitive. I'm difficult at making decisions, right? Layers and layers and layers of things that you're always trying to change as an adult. But if we were to contrast that with that little child within, right? Maybe that inner child would say, well, I'm sensitive because I really enjoy taking time with my friends. I'm not quick to make decisions because I like to make sure that it makes me happy to make that decision. Maybe that inner child is really trying to speak to you, but you, as the adult version, are trying to rationalize why you are a certain way and creating this whole context of why you are the way you are. That little inner child is saying something a little bit different. And that's where acceptance comes in. Because you are that small version of yourself and you are the layers on the outside as well. But when the outermost layer and the innermost layer come into agreement, that's where acceptance comes in. Maybe your story as an adult, right? I had a really challenging upbringing because my parents, they got divorced, and it was a really challenging thing for me now. So in relationships, I show up a certain way because I'm fearful or I don't have trusting relationships with my family. But the small child might say, yeah, I just like to play with my toys. I just like to go outside. I just when there's conflict, I think it's time for me to just go play with friends. It didn't affect you. Right? So, not to invalidate what your feelings are as an adult, but understand that there was an inner child that was processing these things, maybe not at a deep intellectual level, but they were still processing it. And you were taking care of yourself the best way that you knew how then. That little being inside did the best with what they knew how to. And that's where acceptance comes into place. Once again, the little and the big are coming together. So we continue on. We take that little doll and the big doll, right? The outer layers and the inner layers. And we want to tap into them because there is a lot of acceptance that comes with the inner child healing. We want to make sure that we're doing this in a way that feels authentic to ourselves because everyone's story is completely different and everyone's experience is completely different. So I want you to imagine the story that you tell a person on your first date. Ooh, do some people get really intimate and go deep on the first date? Do some people maybe shy away and don't share any information? Do they think if I share something about my past, then maybe this person will be deterred to wanting to be with me? When we meet someone for the very first time, we want to show our most authentic selves, but we are holding a lot in that maybe we haven't accepted just yet. So maybe on that first date, we say something like, I'm really excited about meeting you, but I'm just not sure if commitment's right for me because, once again, I had parents that were divorced. And it's like, what about that little kid? Go back to that one. I really like you, right? Imagine going into that first date with letting your inner child come first. I really like you. You're funny. You have a lot to share. You like the same food I do. You like the same music I do. Creating that marriage and acceptance between the two. We can process that together. And that's coming to a very deep acceptance, both of who we are now, because of that inner child who has accepted us this entire time. They're not angry with us. They're not mad at us. They're not going to beat us up if we didn't make the life that we believe as an adult we should have of ourselves. Our inner child, they are so proud of us already. Everything that we've accomplished, they are so unbelievably proud. And for those that are interested, I do also have an inner child meditation that I will share at the end of this call today that will let you go through that process of having that conversation with your child and being able to see how amazed they are that everything that you've created, the acceptance, but also the gratitude. And when it comes to forgiveness. This is also a very big theme of the inner child journey, because there's a lot that we want to place blame, our ego, once again, the control freak, wanting to place blame or wanting to place control outside of ourselves. So we might place blame on our family or friends or community or upbringing, the church, whoever it may be, right? But most importantly, you may never get the apology that you're thinking is going to come. You may never get that, I'm sorry that this is how I showed up for you. But also, we have a chance to forgive ourselves. Let me just put them in the waiting room. Here we go. Sorry about that, everyone. So, forgiveness. Once we've accepted ourselves, once we've accepted our journey, there's a forgiveness that's going to come with that experience as well. Forgiveness for those that we feel created any discomfort in our life, created challenge in our experience. So we have to forgive them. But then once that happens on the outside, then we start forgiving ourselves. So I just want to take a moment here, and I would love for everyone to write down on their little list just one person that they can forgive or that they feel that they would like to forgive. Maybe it is mom, maybe it's dad, maybe it's your sister, maybe it is the community that you were raised in, maybe it's the church, maybe it, whatever it may be. Just go ahead and write down that one person, write on your notebook, write as you will. That one person you feel like truly holds you back from being the best version of yourself. Take a moment. Could be anyone. And to yourself, once again, that Russian doll, what is the adult version saying about this person? What are they saying about them? Why am I this way? You made me this way. Your actions made me this way. Why weren't you more loving? Why did you choose to act like that? Why did you take those actions? Why did you share that experience? Why didn't you understand me? Why didn't you hear me? Why didn't you know me? Why, right? The adult version wants to take a part of ourselves that we still haven't accepted and understand why that person couldn't be there for you the way that you chose. All right. The adult version. And then the child version, what would they say about that person? That they love them unconditionally, that they are an idol to you, that they're a mentor. And maybe that little child, it hasn't explored or understood the circumstances of life yet. But truly, what would that child say about that person? They would admire them. They would feel compassion and love for them. And so we can marry these two once again. Maybe the adult can go to the child and be that person for them. Show up the way that they know their idol, their mentor, the person that they admire will show up to them. And then what can happen is this whole narrative is going to change. The adult version is no longer going to feel like that they need an apology or that they need something that may never come. A sense of forgiveness. And a sense of forgiveness coming from your inner child. It's okay. You were going through life. You didn't know. You didn't know any better. And so these two are coming together to heal together, providing them that forgiveness, sharing the words that we wish we could always hear, whether that person is currently alive or has passed, or maybe we're not even in contact with them anymore. But coming to acceptance and getting the forgiveness is what we're really looking for, what we really desire. And so, as we go on this journey, I want you to, in this next couple of hours, even after this event, I really want you to imagine what life would be like, or what the story about your life would be like if you had come to a complete 100% acceptance of who you are exactly as you are right now. What stories would drop off? What stories would you let go of? What experiences would you feel no longer needing to attach to? What relationships would you develop? What friends would you have? If you had your inner child telling you about the journey, they're going to be impressed with you either way. No matter what the experience is, no matter what choices you make, they're going to be so inspired by you. And so you take that journey. And this is what the process is going to be like with the inner child healing. And so we'll close down our eyes just one more time because I want you to feel what that acceptance is like. All right, so closing down the eyes again and coming back into that Russian doll analogy, right? The outer layers as the adult you are now, peeling back the inner layers, going in deeper to the smallest parts of ourself. And imagine that little child, that little doll, glowing inside of you with acceptance of exactly who they are. The spunky, spontaneous, confident, loving, compassionate, appreciative. And imagine that radiating to the outer layers, radiating to the 7-year-old self, radiating to the 10-year-old self, radiating to the 15-year-old, the 20-year-old, the 30-year-old. Maybe once we start getting to those outer layers, maybe it's starting to fade, that light, but keep going, extending to the 30-year-old, the 40-year-old, maybe even the 50-year-old and 60-year-old. And it comes from the core of you. And imagine that outer shell glowing with the same confidence as that inner light. Imagine walking into a room and knowing how powerful you are as an influence in that room. Imagine how you can think and speak and draw creatively. Imagine walking into a room and just knowing that you are surrounded by people who hear you, being surrounded by friends who just understand you, being around people who genuinely enjoy your presence. Let yourself glow to your light. It feels nice to be me. Say that statement to yourself. It feels nice to be me. I enjoy being the authentic me. I enjoy showing up exactly as I am. I love this part of myself. And I love this part of myself. And I was made perfectly. Say that back to yourself. I was made perfectly. I was made perfectly. One more time, or as many times as you need to truly feel it. I was made perfectly. Come back to your screen, opening up your eyes. And this is the journey that you're going to be taking. From today, moving forward, you're a different person. Just in this very moment, I was made perfectly. Now I'm curious. Feel free to drop it in the chat if you have access to it. What percentage of you today, in this very moment, believes the statement that I was made perfectly? As if 100% is your perfect self. Where do you believe as your adult self do you sit right now? Drop it in the chat. I'm curious. If you think I'm 100, yes, I am perfect. I was made perfectly. I'm 100%. Or you're like, I believe it like half, like 50. Yeah. Oof, I like that. Now says 90. All right. 80. Okay. Okay. 80%. 75. 75. Okay. 75. It's a good place to be. 60. That's okay. That's a good place to be too. Hmm. Now, that's the adult answering. Now I'm going to try that one more time. 50%, but I need to do some exploring. Okay. Now imagine you can close your eyes just for one more moment. I want you to imagine the inner child speaking now. And I want you to say again, as the inner child, you can say it in a different voice to make it sound different. You can experience it however you feel, whether it's a 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old. Say it again to yourself as if they are speaking. I was made perfectly. I was made perfectly. I was made perfectly. Open your eyes back up. Go ahead in the chat. What percent do you think your inner child believes that they were made perfectly? 100% being they know they were made perfectly, down to, yeah, maybe I'm perfect. Maybe I'm not. 90, 50. Interesting. Interesting. 95, 75. We're increasing a little bit. We have more faith in our inner child than we do our adult self sometimes. 95. Now imagine you let that inner child take control for the next period of your life, to let them make decisions and let them experience life and let them give you the advice that you deeply desire. You'd be amazed at where that percentage would be on how you believe that you were made perfectly. Mhm. And so this journey begins. Like I said, it may be just this call today. It may be you joining tomorrow. It may be you joining for a full program. But knowing that today is the day. So, what I encourage you to do, and this is all, of course, voluntary if you choose, but today, tomorrow, give your inner child 1 hour. Just 1 hour. Put it in your calendar, put it in your schedule, and anything that your inner child says or wants you to do, go ahead. Explore, try, play, dance, whatever it is that they're requesting. Let it happen. Because from the observations that we have here, it seems like you trust your inner child more than you trust your adult self sometimes. So see what able to happen. Maybe even going to that inner child to just ask them what they think you should make for a small decision. What do I want to eat right now? Listen, if they want to eat ice cream for breakfast, the adult self is gonna say, oh, well, we shouldn't have. But like the inner child is allowed to. Why not? What's it gonna harm? Let yourself play, because there may have been a time where you weren't given that opportunity to just play. Mhm. And so this is similar to activities that I will be sharing once again, both through today, tomorrow, and Thursday. But for those that feel called to take this as an elongated journey, this is something that I, as an inner child, have been called to do. Um, this 2024 was a particularly challenging year for many people. There was a lot of changes happening, there was a lot of transitions happening, and naturally, there was a lot happening in the world. But for some people, they chose to lean into healing, they chose to go inwards, and that is something that I chose as well. And so for the last year or so, I let myself play. I didn't take him here today, but I bought a 4-foot stuffed giraffe because my inner child wanted a giraffe. I bought the expensive markers that that I was never allowed as a child because they were too expensive, and who needs to get markers? I started reading children's books. Funny enough, this one was actually gifted to me, which is the Bible, my very first Bible story, right? And it's these little activities on a consistent basis that bring you back to, wait a second, I'm just a small human in a very adult body trying to exist in this very interesting world. And so what I have done is I've created an entire program for this because I feel like what I did in a very long year can be condensed. And so for the month of February, March, and April, I am opening it to an inner child healing program. And this is for people that want to continue this type of support, wanting to be able to connect that acceptance and forgiveness together. And so what we do in that 3 months is we're doing a few things, not just getting together and talking about our inner child healing, although that's helpful as well. It also takes action in your everyday life. And the best way that we can also heal is through community, right? Imagine being a child. Maybe some of us were spent a lot of time by ourselves. Sometimes we need to do some of that healing by ourselves, but a lot of the times we were spent around other children, other children, other adults who are going to be children. So for these next 3 months, we're going to focus on that part of ourselves. And we're going to be doing things like journaling. For those that like to journal, whether it is writing things down, if it's taking a video of ourselves, if it is doing recordings, these are kind of tasks so that way you can hold yourself to seeing your own growth. Because I can see your growth, of course. I've seen a lot of people on this call make growth through the Uncovering Spiritual Gifts community or any programs that you've been a part of. But for you to see that growth makes a huge difference. So there's going to be the element of seeing the journey unfold. There's also going to be activities that we're going to be performing together, whether that activity is going out and buying something for your inner child that you so deeply desired, or if you are a dancer, maybe seeing a child, a actual child out in public, do something that you desperately want to do, but you're too afraid to as an adult, and joining in with them and encouraging yourself to be in that childlike mindset again. Or maybe it's a performing an activity that you used to do and love so deeply, but you don't find purpose in it anymore. You could spend hours having a full conversation over dolls, but now you silently go to a social media app for distraction because that's silly. Why would I be creative and make dolls speak to each other? That doesn't make sense. But your inner child would like to do that again. And there's this element of just bringing that person back and nurturing them back into acceptance and allowing that space to happen. And then we do meet every other week just to be able to share. Once again, the power of community and the power of sharing. This is the most beautiful part of the inner child, is knowing that you have people who are supporting you, who are guiding you, who are cheering you on. Because maybe you were that kid that really loved the verbal validation. Maybe you were that kid that really needed the affection, the physical touch, right? These are all things that we're going to work through together. We're going to understand your love language and also understand your love language through the lens of what you desire from the outside world, through relationships, through people. And this is how the journey is going to go. And so, anyone who might be interested, there is still space available. Not a requirement, but also just for those that are interested in taking this journey further in their inner child healing. So this is starting, once again, this is going to start on February 7th. Let me see. No, sorry, February 6th at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be meeting every other week for those 3 months, as well as doing those activities. We're going to be doing this through a Facebook group, which is also just supportive. It creates a community anyways. But this is your chance to be able to work together in that process, because it's sharing with each other. It's experiencing with each other. It's sending someone the book of, the child's book, buying the Winnie the Pooh book that you always, that you remember from when you were a child. There's always going to be activities every week. There's going to be a journal entry every week, and we meet physically in a space every other week, starting on the 6th. And for this, it will start, once again, February, March, and April through the end. And at the very end, we're going to have an inner child celebration, because they deserve to be celebrated. Most importantly, your inner child is speaking to you in ways that you may not even know. And you might not start noticing it as well. I can share from my personal experience this weekend. I had a girl who's standing in front of me in the ice cream. We were getting ice cream. Didn't know this girl. And she just looks at me and she goes, "I really like your shirt." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much. I really love your outfit." And then she started dancing. And I'm looking at this child's like, "Wow, you are me. You are me," dancing in the middle of, and I just started cheering her on, and she started dancing even harder. And then she started going on the floor doing spins and flips. And her mom was like, "Stop." And I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. She's doing her thing. She's a great dancer. Let her keep going. Let her keep." And I could see the inner child in her mom trying so hard to like tell her daughter, right, to be an adult, but she's not an adult. She's a kid. Let her be a kid. And we had a beautiful little conversation, her and I, about her classes and her schooling. And I just realized I'm starting the inner child healing this week, and I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about me seeing me in another human doing exactly I know what I would have done at her age. And we had a lot of fun. So, if this is something that you are interested in, this is going to be the 3 months. If you are ready to sign up, this is the link I'm going to share with you in the chat. If you would like to join, you can join there. If you want to wait and see how things go through tomorrow and Thursday, feel free to do that too. But this is going to be a journey that I'm going to be taking with a small group. And I'm really excited to do it because most importantly, this is about you going through the inner child experience and knowing that you're going to meet yourself. I promise. I can make this as a promise. You are going to meet yourself through someone outside of you. You're going to see that child the same way that I did. And you're going to know that you are healing because they are showing it to you. The world is showing it to you. Mm. Mm. Your inner child wants a voice, and I'm giving you that microphone. Mm. So I want to see how people are feeling relaxed, feeling confused, feeling excited. Feel free, drop it in the chat. How are you feeling in this very moment? In this very, very moment, knowing that you have just connected in the smallest percentile to your inner child. Lighter. I like that. Yeah, now. Amazing. I'm feeling excited, feeling connected. Oh, that's most important. Relaxed and playful, and excited to bring my inner child back more often. Yeah. Mischievous. Yeah, some of our inner child, sometimes our inner child just wants to cause a little bit of chaos. Why not? Happy. Good, good. Amazing. Well, that is what is today is going to be, is just to share that journey with you, just to share the feeling that you're going to experience through this process. And when we do calls together, it's going to be more group style. We're going to have activities, we're going to have breakout rooms, we're going to have deep discussions. So if at any point, as I mentioned, I did also want to share which I didn't think to have the link, for anyone that does also want to experience a little bit deeper on your time, because once again, this has been a lot of listening. If you want to experience it on your own time, I have an inner child meditation for you. I'm dropping that in the chat for you too. All right. There it is. So And that is an inner child meditation. This is a great start for your journey if you do decide. This is a meditation that I encourage you to go into a place that feels comfortable, where you're free from distractions and free from anyone being able to connect with you. It's only 20 minutes, 22 minutes, I believe. And this is going to be a really great place for you to start. If meditation is hard for you, I get it. It's a practice. That's why it is a practice. You have to practice meditation. But having to go into this inner child meditation, it's always nice to do it when you feel like it is a space that you can go off and play. This is a playful meditation. So enjoy that. And before I let you go, I just want to thank you, most importantly, from my inner child to your inner child. Thank you for taking this journey. Thank you for deciding that I am so important to you, the inner child to another, that you want to give me a voice again. Thank you for constantly taking care of me and watching after me. And now it's time for me to take care of you. Mm. So, thank you, everyone. If anyone has any questions at all, please feel free to come off mute. I'd be happy to answer questions that anybody has. But this has been such a beautiful journey, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of all of you tomorrow at 5 p.m. and or Thursday at 5 p.m. Same place, same time. And yeah, your inner child tomorrow will be learning about healthy relationships and boundaries. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing. Appreciate you all. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing. See you later, everyone.